Yeah. First of all, I'd like to give all due respect to Yehudah Zebaot, the creator of all things and everything, the God of our ancient forefathers, the God that allows us all to be here this day. I want to say Torah Abba, Most High, for the life of my Abba, Chief Elqanah ben Yehudah. Ask that he continue to be with him. I give him his due respect. I also like to give due respect to Nasierio ben Yasaskar, the leader of D.C.B, as well as Rosh Kohat ben Lewi. I also like to give due respect to the elders, men, women, and children, and I bid you all in the tongue of our ancient forefathers, Shabbat Shalom Lakim. All right, so the Proverbs that we're going to be getting into today is Proverbs 9 and 10. But before we get into Proverbs 9 and 10, I'm going to jump around a little bit. So y'all may have a lot of paper to, be flipping, right? I hope you're ready. But there's a point that I want to get to before I get into the lesson, because I guess this is just something I've been wanting to talk about for a while. And with all these things that's been going on between last week's lesson and this week's lesson, it kind of comes into play. Last week, Chief Naphtali was teaching us about the things that our forefathers did and how they started worshiping other, gods and following after the ways of the nation. That even fell in a little bit to what Chief Uz was teaching today with our forefathers and how they was worshiping Molech and stuff. And I mention that because we have this thing that we don't really like to take. We have a problem when it comes to advice or correction or criticism if it's not coming from a kind of person that we feel it should be coming from. And although we read these book of the Proverbs and Ecclesiastes where we get wisdom from, we also do have to keep in mind that Solomon did commit a great trespass before the Most High God. So before we get into Proverbs, let us go to 1 Kings chapter 11. And this is not to take away anything from King Solomon, but this is just to bring something to mind. So first, you there, right? All right.
1 Kings chapter 11, hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Now King Solomon loved many foreign women, besides the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites, of the nation concerning which Yehudah said unto the children of Yisrael, ye shall not go among them, neither shall they come among you, but surely they will turn away your heart from after their gods.
All right. So we see what it says right there. So we know King Solomon, he married a lot of women, especially a lot of women that he wasn't supposed to marry, and we see what they did. Well, not that they did to him, but his heart being weak because of the love that he had for them, what it caused him to do. So he erected altars for them to worship their gods. Not to say that he did it himself, but he still built these altars in the midst of his community, in the midst of a people that wasn't supposed to do or get into idol worship, but he still built these things. The Most High God told us not to marry into foreign nations. Go to Deuteronomy 7, chapter 3 real quick. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 3. That's right, I hear that. She feeling the word. That's all.
Deuteronomy 7, verse 3, let us all say hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. For he will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of Yehovah be kindled against you, and he will destroy thee quickly. But thus shall you deal with them. You shall break down the altars and dash in pieces the pillars, and hew down the Asherim, and burn the graven images with fire. For thou art a holy people unto Yehovah thy God. Yehovah thy God has chosen thee to be his own treasure.
All right.
All the peoples that are upon the face of the earth.
That's enough. So just taking it back there so we can see where the Most High God did actually tell us that we are not supposed to marry into foreign people. Torah teaches Torah. And as wise as Solomon was, even till this day, Solomon is considered one of the wisest people on the face of this earth. Because everybody's obsessed with comic book movies nowadays, when 5 or 10 years ago, somebody probably would have called me a nerd for that. But now comic book movies are very popular. So you had Shazam just come out. And the essence Shazam actually stands for Solomon. Because even in the comic books, he's acknowledged as one of the wisest people to walk the face of the earth. And still, as wise as he was, as much knowledge as he's had, he still did two things that he wasn't supposed to. Well, he multiplied wives. We know he wasn't supposed to do that. And then not only did he multiply wives, he married foreign women. And on top of that, he built altars. And in him building altars, he actually caused Israel to sin for generations, because it wasn't until King Hezekiah, 2 Kings 18, you don't have to turn there, but it wasn't until King Hezekiah that the altars were actually broken down. And that's about 11, maybe 12 kings later. So that's how many generations that Solomon actually caused the people to sin, just to keep in mind. Now, why do I say all that before I'm about to get into a book that he wrote and read the words that he left on record for us? Because sometimes, you know, we have this problem where, well, I know we like to say things like, you know, you got to be the message that you bring and the song that you sing, or, you know, worry about your own house first and blah, 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 things of that nature. Not to say that those things aren't true. A person should have their house in order before they try to go looking in other people's house and see what they could correct. But that doesn't mean that what somebody might be saying may not be good for you. Go back to 2 Kings and start at verse 3 and go down.
2 King?
Slika, 1 Kings chapter 11.
1 Kings chapter 11, verse 3. And he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines. And his wives turned away his heart. For it came to pass when Solomon was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not whole where Jehovah was ever old, as was the heart of David his father. But Shalom went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the destination of the Ammonites. And Solomon did that which was evil in the sight of Jehovah, and went not fully after Jehovah as did David his father. Then Solomon built a high place for Chemos, the detestation of Moab, and the mount that is before Jerusalem, and for Molech, the detestation of the children of Ammon. And so did he for all his former wives who offered and sacrificed upon their gods.
Yeah, I realized I got a bit ahead of myself. And I'm like, wait, I didn't actually show them the part where Solomon did erect these temples. So as you can see here, he built all these different things. And mind you, he's not building them elsewhere. He's building them in the midst of his people. So again, this is something that King Solomon did and caused the people to sin for generations. Now, you know, so back to what I was saying as far as people not taking advice from a certain person just because they not maybe up to par to where you feel they should be somebody that's giving advice. So let's say, for example, you know, like, let's say somebody catch you, we shouldn't be stealing and we know we shouldn't, but let's just say you just so happen to be stealing and somebody catches you stealing and you say, well, you committed adultery. Why are you worried about me stealing? Like, that's a backwards way of thinking, but that's taking it all the way left, you know. So let's bring it back a little. It don't even have to be that far. Think about the little things that we may say or think in our heart about another person, and it's like, oh, well, you're not even on this level, so who are you to be telling me how to do this? You know, maybe that person is trying to prevent you from making the mistakes that they made. If a crackhead told you not to smoke crack, you're going to say, no, I'm going to smoke twice as much crack just because you told me not to. No, that's backwards, you know what I'm saying? If Allen Iverson told you, hey, look, young blood, you good at ball, but show up to practice, you know. I didn't show up to practice, I was disrespectful, blah, blah, blah. Now I suffer because of it. You're going to take that advice, you know. So just because a person isn't in the position of life that you feel that they should be in to give you some advice, or because you see them messing up in their life, you say, I ain't going to hear from that person. No, take the wisdom. If it's good and it's right, take the wisdom from that person. One last example that I want to go to before we actually get into the Proverbs is Exodus chapter 18, verse 15. That's about it. We ain't going to jump around too much more.
The book of Exodus chapter 18, verse 15. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And Moshe said unto his father-in-law, because the people come unto me to inquire of God, when they have a matter, they come unto me, and I judge between a man and his neighbor, and I make them know the statutes of God and his laws. And Moshe's father-in-law said unto him, the thing that thou doest is not good. Thou wilt surely wear away, both thou and his people that are with thee. For the thing is too heavy for thee. Thou art not able to perform it thyself alone. Hearken now to my voice. I will give thee counsel, and God be with thee. Be thou for the people before Jehovah, and bring thou the causes unto God. And thou shalt teach them the statutes and the laws, and shalt show them the way wherein they must walk, and the work that they must do. Moreover, thou shalt provide out of all the people able men, such that fear Jehovah, men of truth, hate an unjust gain, and place such over them to be rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties, and rulers of tens. And let them judge the people at all seasons. And it shall be that every great matter that they shall bring unto thee, for every small matter they shall judge themselves. So shall they make it easier for thee, and bear the burden with thee. If thou shalt do this thing, and Yehovah commanded to do so, then thou shalt be able to endure, and all this people thou shalt go into their place of peace. So Moshe hearkened to the voice of his father.
No, he didn't.
And did all that he had said.
No, he
And
didn't.
Moshe chose able men out of all Yisrael.
Sehu. The reason I went here is just to kind of drive the point that I was making. Because Moshe, at this point, is in one of the highest positions that anybody could be in. He's a servant of the Most High, and he actually was the one that put his hand forth to do all the things that helped to destroy Egypt. And Moses wasn't arrogant in his heart in all the things that he was able to do. Because even when he sinned against the Most High God and he smote the rock, water still came from it. So that just shows you that the Most High God did put some type of power in this man, so that even when he did forget to sanctify the Most High God, he still had powers. So as powerful as Moshe was, he still was humble enough to hear the correction from. Now we're going to go to 10. Yeah.
Proverbs 10, hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
A wise son maketh a glad father, but a foolish son is the grief of his mother. Treasures of wickedness profit nothing, but righteousness delivered from death. Yehovah will not suffer the soul of the righteous to famish, but he thrusteth away the desire of the wicked. He becometh poor that dealeth with a slack hand, but the hand of the diligent maketh rich.
All right. So going back to the stolen waters are sweet and the bread eaten in secret is pleasant. That's you doing something you're not supposed to do and thinking because nobody see you, it's okay that you're doing it. And then go down to chapter 10, second verse, where it says, treasures of wickedness profit nothing. So just because you're doing wrong and getting away with it at the moment, just know in the long run it's not going to profit you anything. Because, I wish I would have actually looked it up, because I did read it sometime a couple weeks ago, that because the punishment doesn't come speedily, we think everything is okay. Right. So because, we do wrong, we might be nervous for a few days after that. But let 1 week go by, nothing happened, 2 weeks go by, now you're comfortable. Because the punishment didn't come right away, so you felt that that wrong that you did was all right. Same thing with Solomon. I'm pretty sure he didn't just build temple after temple after temple. He built one temple for one wife. The other wife said, well, you built one for her, why I can't have one? He built a temple for that wife. And the next one said the same thing, And although we know King David made a mistake, he committed adultery with Bathsheba, and he murdered her husband, Uriah. One thing that King David did that differs from Solomon is when he made that sin, he turned back from it and never went that way again. Solomon built temple after temple after temple after temple. So he changed from his ways. Now it says, a wise son maketh a glad father, but a foolish son is the grief of his mother. These are very self-explanatory. I don't have to get that far into these. But a wise son maketh a glad mother and father, and a foolish son is the grief of his mother and father. So do that what you know is right, whether y'all parents is around or not, do what you know is right. Don't always follow the crowd. I know most of us grew up hearing, if all your friends jumped off of a bridge, would you do it too? We all said no, but none of our friends ain't jump off a bridge, and none of us been in a position to do it. So hopefully, our children does hear the understanding that comes, from this beam or from anywhere, any kind of wisdom, to help them live and be better and do better. Tosif.
Verse 5. A wise son gathereth in summer, but a son that doeth shamefully sleepeth in harvest. Blessings are upon the head of the righteous, but the mouth of the wicked concealeth violence. The memory of the righteous shall be for a blessing, but the name of the wicked shall rot.
All right. He becometh poor that dealeth with a slack hand, but the hand of the diligent maketh rich. So I know Chief Kohat was talking about this earlier in the sluggard. Don't be lazy. Stop procrastinating. And this is something I still have to tell myself to this day. Stop waiting to the last minute to get things done. I have a supervisor now that he likes things done right away. But you know what I said to myself? I said, I need somebody like him. So I didn't even take it no kind of way. I didn't have no ill feelings towards him, because my previous supervisor, yeah, Bell, on your own time, whenever, don't worry about it. Bell is my real last name for anybody who don't know. My slave last name, however you want to put it. So, yeah, Bell, your own time, whenever you want, do when you want. Now, this supervisor, he's like, yeah, now. Yeah, you can do it now. Yeah, it doesn't have to wait. I was like, oh, all right. I mean, but when do we need it done by? Friday? It's Monday? Oh, all right. He's like, yeah, but we can do it now though. But I need that because that helped, push me in other areas in my life where I may be slacking off. So a slack hand is not good because when you procrastinate and procrastinate and procrastinate, you put yourself in a position to always be in a state of anxiety. Oh man, wait, I gotta get this done, but no, I gotta do this too. Don't put yourself in that position. But the hand of the diligent maketh rich. Get everything that you need to get done ahead of time, then you'll have time for anything else that may come up. My Abba always used to tell me, show up to work early or try to get to work early because you never know what traffic may come on the way or what you may have to deal with that day. I wish I would have took the advice a little bit more, growing up, but the advice was still given that, show up to work early. That's just being diligent. You read 5 already? Yeah. So let's go to 6. The blessings are upon the head of the righteous, but the mouth of the wicked concealeth violence. The memory of the righteous shall be for a blessing, but the name of the wicked shall rot. Okay, start from 8 again.
The wise in heart shall receive commandments, but a prating fool shall fall. He that walketh uprightly walketh securely, but he that perverteth his way shall be found out. He that winketh with the eye causeth sorrow, and a prating fool shall fall. Yeah, so this prating or prating fool, I should have Googled the pronunciation. Prating? Thank you. I appreciate it. We both got it. But the prating fool, this is just somebody that's always just talking foolishness. The wise in heart will receive commandments. So the person that actually wants to grow and wants to be the best version of themselves is going to hear when someone's giving them correction. But that prating fool that's always talking, you can't listen if you're talking. They always got something to say, but ain't nothing worth listening to. That they just, like Jackie Chan said in Rush Hour, he liked people who like to talk. I ain't gonna finish the rest of it, but that's what he liked, people who like to talk, to see how full, they are. So this is that prating fool. He that walketh uprightly walketh securely, but he that perverteth his ways shall be found out. Again, goes back to that person doing wrong and thinking because they got away with it, that initial anxiety. But that person that knows that they always doing right and ain't offending nobody, ain't offending the Most High God first and foremost, they doing right as far as the best of their understanding. They don't have to, they walking securely. They're not looking over their shoulder. They're not worried about who might be trying to do them wrong. They're not worried about a tree falling on them or lightning striking them down, because they're doing that which is right. Tosif?
Verse 11. The mouth of the righteous is the fountain of life, but the mouth of the wicked concealeth violence. Hatred stirreth up stripes, but love covereth all transgressions. And the lips of him that discernment and wisdom is found, but a rod is for the back of him that is void of understanding. Wise man lay up knowledge, but the mouth of the foolish is an imminent ruin.
Listen in the right amount of time, but a rod is for the back of him that is void of understanding. Most of us get the opportunity to change, whether it be at home life, school life, work life, outside life. We get the opportunity to change or do better before a certain punishment comes. Let's say one of your tires ain't looking right, somebody tell you to deal with it, but you don't want to listen, you're not trying to have no understanding, and your tire goes out. Now you got to try to sit there and put the spare tire on in the road. That's the punishment for you not listening. More personal, for all of us, I'm pretty sure we all received the Makkah once in our lives. Hopefully we all have. If not, well, hopefully you got some form of correction that makes you understand before the Most High God has to give you one. And that's what this is saying here. In the lips of him that have discernment, wisdom is found, but a rod is for him that is void of understanding. Don't be that person that has to feel it to understand it. Just receive the understanding in its due time. Tosif?
Verse 15. The rich man's wealth is in a strong city. The ruin of the poor is in their poverty. The wages of the righteous is life. The increase of the wicked is sin. He is in the way of life that heedeth instruction. But he that forsaketh reproof erreth. He that hideth hatred is of lying lips. And he that uttereth a slander is a fool. And the multitude of words they would have not transgression. But he that refraineth his lips is wise.
All right. The rich man's wealth is a strong city. So this is like a person feeling that they can do wrong just because they have the money, you know. And then the minute that sickness hit them, you know, they get this type of disease or this type of cancer, and they thinking their money could save them. The Most High God is going to show them that not all the doctors in the world, all the medication and all the money in the world ain't going to save you from this disease. He might even give them a disease that the doctors and the scientists can't even figure out what's affecting them. You know, so I know it might be in Ecclesiastes or in Ecclesiasticus, one of the two books, but it tells us to not trust in our riches, to not trust in our strength. And that's what happens with a lot of rich people, even in today's time, where they believe their wealth is going to save them. You know, even with Aunt Becky, you know, from Full House, she thought she could use her money to get her children into a place that they wasn't supposed to be, and now it's backfiring. Then we're going to move down, and it says, one second, there we go. He is in the way of life that heedeth instruction, but he that forsaketh reproof erreth. Again, this Proverbs is really just driving you just receiving understanding and taking it and like take the correction at that time, because you don't know you don't know how close you are to that punishment, and that could have been you know, making that left turn before you got into a car accident. So just take the correction. Tosif?
Verse 20. The tongue of the righteous is as choice silver. The heart of the wicked is little worth. The lips of the righteous feed many, but the foolish lie for want of understanding. The blessing of Yehovah it make it rich, and toil out of nothing thereto. It is as sport to a fool to do wickedness, and so is wisdom to a man of discernment. The fear of the wicked shall come upon him, and the desire of the righteous shall be granted. When the whirlwind passeth, the wicked is no more, but the righteous is an everlasting foundation. As vinegar to the teeth, and as smoke to the eyes, so is a sluggard to them that send him.
All right. The fear of the wicked, it shall come upon him. The desire of the righteous shall be granted. When the whirlwind passeth, the wicked is no more, but the righteous is an everlasting foundation. Don't be too fascinated with the lifestyle that you see these people living, and they're not living right. Because when you know, hopefully those of us that are older may know better, but if you don't, it's all right. But for the young people, don't be over fascinated with the glitz and the glamour that you see on TV that all these celebrities have, and you know they're not doing that which is right, and you may be looking at yourself and looking at your people, and it's like, why are we not rich like them if we have this understanding? And we're rich in a lot of other ways because we don't have the problems that they have that come with all these things that they introduce into their life. And we have a foundation that we can stand on, that we're still alive, you know. XXXTentacion, one of the latest young rappers who was murdered, and you know, because he was, I guess, flexing. He had his money with him or whatever, so he got robbed and murdered. And his money, just to go back to the other verse, his money, his wealth couldn't save him at that point. That money couldn't stop the bleeding. It couldn't stop the person from saying, let me take this. It couldn't do none of that. And not to say whether he was wicked or righteous, you know, just, you know, but I'm pretty sure there was a lot of things that he was doing and promoting to some extent that we shouldn't be doing. And he was dealt with young. And there's a lot of young rappers up and coming or that was already famous that were taken out. And I'm only using them because those are the quickest ones to influence our people, especially the youth, in these days and times. Then it goes down and it talks about the sluggard again. It's like vinegar to the teeth and smoke to the eyes, to, you know, for the person that sent them. So it's like, you know, the store, you sent your child to the store, your son or your daughter to the store. You know it don't take but 2 minutes to walk to the store. You sent them for one thing, so you know it ain't gonna take them that long. It's 20 minutes done going by. You wondering where they went. 30 minutes done going by. You know, this is that sluggard. It says vinegar to the teeth and smoke to the eyes. It's like a bother. It's a bother. The sluggard is a bother to a person. They just taking a slow time. They ain't even want to get up. It took them 20 minutes just to even go do it after you asked them to do it. And then it's taking them a whole hour to come back. This is that lazy person. Verse 27.
Verse 27. The fear of Yehovah prolongeth days, but the years of the wicked shall be shortened. The hope of the righteous is gladness, but the expectation of the wicked shall perish. The way to Yehovah is a strong hold to the upright, but ruin to the workers of iniquity. The righteous shall never be moved, but the wicked shall not inhabit the land. The mouth of the righteous butteth for wisdom, but the froward tongue shall be cut off. The lips of the righteous know what is acceptable, but the mouth of the wicked is all forwardness.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
So I pray that you all got something from what I said. I know it's the afternoon time. We all on 8. It's getting late in the day. Everybody want to relax, but I do pray that my words did come across clearly to, I know I may have stumbled here and there, but this is the hot seat. I just pray, with time that the Most High God continue to give me the courage to stand before his people and say a good word. I'm thankful for the opportunity to be in front of you all this day. Again, I pray that you all got something from what I said. Shabbat Shalom Akim.
Shabbat Shalom.